Welcome back to our webcast on getting off to a great start at school. We send our kids off to school each day to learn, and obviously most of the academic lessons take place in their classrooms. But school also plays a big role in our children's social development. For most kids, lunchtime is fun time and one of the highlights of their day, but not always. We've had lots of parents email us at School A to Z with questions about how they should handle schoolyard conflicts. You hear about an argument your child is having with another child and instinctively you want to jump in and help. So what should parents do in situations like this?
They should certainly be interested and be very pleased that their child is coming home and telling them that they're having issues at school, but they really should be more involved in helping their kid maintain some perspective rather than becoming directly involved in the conflict. The best thing that they can do is make sure that the school is aware that there is an issue and allow and trust in the school to take care of that issue in the best interests of their child.
Do children learn something by resolving
Absolutely.
this conflict on their own?
It's really important, and part of the learning process, part of the growing up process is learning how to resolve conflict, and that's a really important lesson that is learnt at school, and there's sometimes lots of really good programs in schools that teach that very thing.
Greg, kids naturally form their own social groups with their own pecking order. Sue's just explained that sorting out an argument can teach kids a lot about conflict resolution, but tell us what sort of behaviour constitutes a real problem?
Yes, I'd agree. Those normal conflict situations are very important in the development of social skills, and it's something that we teach in schools and we need to teach our children. But what we need to be very wary of is particularly the notion of bullying, which is really a repeated occurrences of incidents that will have effect on our children. So things like any form of violence is not tolerated in schools and is dealt with very quickly, and parents, if they're aware of that, should notify the school about that if it's occurring in their peer groups outside schools as well. And remembering that violence is often seen easily, but it's also the bullying that can be repetitious of the words, the spreading information about children, both on cyber and just word of mouth, whether it's notes or whatever, and also the other nature of the type of antisocial behaviour which can be just isolating children, where they just freeze them out of their peer groups or friendship groups. So it's very important that we know about that we can actually help the parents and the child develop the skills to deal with that and stop the incident from occurring, because it can have some very detrimental effects on the children if it continues.
Do you think that sometimes parents misunderstand the difference between normal schoolyard conflict and bullying?
Yeah, I think we've tended to start to use the word bullying for any conflict that occurs, and yet we know that conflict can be a normal positive part of learning to live. We need to be able to do that. So I think really parents have to understand we're talking about the repetition of behaviour that's occurring on a particular child. That was really the notion of bullying, and we need to be able to get in very quickly and try to do something about that.
Okay. Beverly, we've had another parent write in asking for advice about her teenager who's having trouble fitting in at school and has become withdrawn at home. What can parents do to help in this scenario?
I think one of the greatest things we can do as a parent is to learn to listen, and I speak to myself as well. We have to learn to listen and not jump in too quickly and get their story. And then for a teenager, it's very hard to know how to make friends in high school settings sometimes. So to role play and go through how you could join a group, whether it's a sports group or just join a group of people in your year. It might be somebody that you've sat next to in a lesson, something like that, how to go about talking to them. And I would say, though, if you try all your suggestions out and they're still miserable, then you need to let somebody know. Let the school know, get some help, and perhaps do some social skills training as well.
And in the event a parent really disapproves of their child's friends or peer group, what's your advice?
Keep your mouth closed.
Really?
I think so, and it's very, very difficult because we all want the best for our children. But I think, you know, they've got to work all of this stuff out for themselves. And if you jump in, they're much more likely to go, well, I'll do this myself, and can just be doing it anyway. So I think, by and large, welcome your children's friends. And I would say I'd rather have them in my home and invite them home than not knowing what's going on. So,
what if you're really worried, though, that they're a bad influence?
Yeah, I mean, talk it through, I think. I mean, every single time, talk to your kids and ask them what they think, and listen, without blaming. I think if you jump in and blame and point the finger, you're really down a slippery road. It's very hard.
Martine, let's talk about solitary kids. Should parents be worried if their child seems to be a bit of a loner or only has one friend?
As the mum of someone who was a bit of a loner, I know it tears your heart out to think of your child spending lunchtime by themselves. But then I think it's really important to sit down and think, well, who's unhappy about this situation? You might be unhappy about it, but is your child unhappy about it? And so definitely I think a little bit of exploration needs to be gone into. Are they being bullied? Are they feeling excluded? But if they're happy about it, then they might just need a little bit of down head time. You know, school's demanding and school time is demanding, and so some kids like a little bit of solitary time. I think it's important though to make sure that your children are still getting social opportunities and that they might need to be engineered by you a little bit in terms of organising plays, making sure that they're in social groups like sporting groups. But I think usually it sorts itself out.
Sue, what's your experience? Are these kids more likely to be bullied because they are loners?
Not necessarily. In my experience, students who are in smaller peer groups or on their own sometimes are not necessarily likely to be bullied if they have good self-esteem and they're confident. Some students don't need lots and lots and lots of friends to have their social needs met. Other students need lots and lots of friends. So from a parent's point of view, as Martine said, I think if they're happy and they seem okay at school, then it's nothing to worry about. If you are worried, then of course ring the school, talk to the principal and the classroom teacher and double check. But if they're generally, you know, happy at school, well adjusted, then there's not a problem, and they're not likely to be, not more likely to be bullied than any other student, no.
There are some great videos about bullying on the School A to Z website, as well as a number of articles. But Greg, your advice to parents, if they find themselves in a situation where their child is the victim of bullying, obviously report it to the school.
Yes, as you said, there's some really good resources for parents there, but I think Beverly's point is, from a parent, you need to listen to your child. If you think the bullying is occurring, you need to contact the school as quickly as possible to talk it through and be able to work together with the school in looking at some strategies. My other advice to parents though is there's sometimes a tendency to want to get directly involved in trying to sort it out, and the evidence really suggests that that often escalates the problem. So you need to report it to the school, work with the school in trying to get a solution.
We'll have to leave it there, but for more information, please do take a look at the videos and other articles that have been posted on the School A to Z website. And if you have any specific questions or concerns, you can contact us confidentially through the website or our Facebook page.